On the night of December 20th, 1954, a handful of people sat in a house in Chicago and waited for the world to end. They had quit their jobs, sold their possessions, some had left their husbands and their children behind. A spaceship was coming at midnight to lift them out before a great flood swallowed the planet. Midnight came, nothing happened, and what they did next is one of the strangest things ever recorded about the human mind. They didn't fall apart. They got louder. This is cognitive dissonance, the quiet engine running underneath almost every belief you hold. By the end of this, you'll see it everywhere. In your politics, in your purchases, in the people you refuse to leave, including in the mirror. The discomfort it creates is so unbearable that your brain will lie to you to make it stop, and you will thank it for the lie. You will defend it as if it were the truth. Years earlier, a social psychologist named Leon Festinger was reading the newspaper. Festinger was not a gentle man. Colleagues described him as combative, brilliant, allergic to sloppy thinking. He had trained under Kurt Lewin, one of the founders of modern social psychology, and he had a habit of asking questions other scientists found almost rude. One morning, a small headline caught his eye. A suburban housewife claimed she was receiving messages from alien beings on a planet called Clarion. The world would drown on December 21st. A small group believed her completely. Most people read that and laughed. Festinger saw an experiment he could never design in a laboratory, because he already had a theory. He believed that when reality directly contradicts a deeply held belief, people don't simply abandon the belief. Under the right conditions, they cling to it harder. And here was a group about to be proven wrong in the most absolute way imaginable. So Festinger did something extraordinary. He sent observers to join them, undercover, to watch a belief die in real time and to see what grew in its place. The group called themselves the Seekers, led by a woman the researchers named Marian Keech. They had cut off skeptics, refused reporters. As the date approached, the messages grew precise. At midnight, a visitor would arrive to walk them to the saucer. They removed every piece of metal from their bodies, zippers, bra clasps, even the foil from sticks of chewing gum, because metal was forbidden aboard the ship. Then they sat and waited. The clock reached midnight. Then 5 minutes passed, then 10. One observer noted the group simply staring at their hands, not speaking. By 4 a.m, some were crying. The belief that had cost them everything was collapsing in front of them, second by second. And then, at 4:45 a.m, Keech's hand began to write. A new message had arrived. The flood had been called off. This little group, sitting up all night, had spread so much light that God had decided to spare the world. They hadn't been wrong. They had saved the planet. Then came the strangest part. This group that had hidden from the press for months began phoning every newspaper in the city before sunrise. They wanted publicity now. They wanted witnesses. The more absurd the failure, the louder they preached. Festinger had predicted exactly this in advance. Disconfirmation didn't kill the faith. It fed it. 5 years later, Festinger took this into the lab to prove it happens in everyone, not just doomsday believers. With his student James Carlsmith in 1959, he had people perform an hour of mind-numbingly boring tasks, turning wooden pegs over and over again and again for no reason. Afterward, each was asked to tell the next participant it had been fun, to lie. Some were paid $20 to do it, some were paid $1. Then they rated how much they themselves had actually enjoyed the task. Logic says the people paid $20 should feel better about it. The opposite happened. The people paid a single dollar rated the boring task as genuinely enjoyable. The ones paid $20 did not. Why? The $20 group had an excuse. I lied for the money. Anyone would. The $1 group had no excuse big enough to cover the lie. So their minds quietly rewrote the memory instead. It wasn't really boring. I kind of liked it. They didn't just lie to the next subject, they lied to themselves and believed it. That same year, 2 researchers, Elliot Aronson and Judson Mills, ran 63 college women through an experiment in humiliation. To join a discussion group, some had to pass an embarrassment test, reading obscene words and explicit passages aloud to a male experimenter. Others were let in with no ordeal at all. Then everyone listened to the exact same group discussion, deliberately engineered to be as dull as humanly possible. A droning conversation about the secondary sex characteristics of animals. The women who had suffered to get in rated that tedious discussion as fascinating, valuable, worth it. The ones who walked in freely saw it for what it was. Boring. This is the comfort lie. When the truth threatens our sense of being smart or good or consistent, we don't change the behavior. We change the truth, and the more something costs us, the more beautiful we are forced to make it. The pain doesn't push us away, it binds us tighter. In 1968, two psychologists, Robert Knox and James Inkster, stood at a racetrack and asked bettors a single question. Some they asked in the 30 seconds before placing the bet, others in the 30 seconds after. Same horses, same odds, same people. But the instant the money left their hands, their confidence jumped measurably. Before betting, they rated their horses' chances as fair. 30 seconds later, those same people rated them as good, even excellent. Nothing about the race had changed. No new information had arrived. The only thing that changed was that the decision could no longer be undone. The commitment itself manufactured the belief that the commitment was right. We don't decide things because we believe in them. Sometimes we believe in them because we've already decided. For decades, people have used cognitive dissonance to mean simple discomfort, the mild awkwardness of holding two contradictory ideas at once. That is not what Festinger found. What he found was darker and far more specific. Dissonance isn't really about logic at all. It's about the self. We can carry contradictory facts around all day without the slightest distress. What we cannot tolerate is evidence that we ourselves are foolish or cruel or wrong. Festinger opened his book with a warning that still reads like a diagnosis of our entire species. A man with a conviction, he wrote, is a hard man to change. Tell him you disagree and he turns away. Show him facts or figures and he questions your sources. Appeal to logic and he fails to see your point. The flood failing didn't break the seekers. It couldn't. Because admitting the truth meant admitting they had destroyed their own lives for nothing. And no mind volunteers for that. The lie was cheaper than the truth. It almost always is. We are not built to seek what is true. We are built to protect who we think we are. You think you would have walked out of that house in Chicago before midnight? You wouldn't have. And you don't need a cult to prove it because you did a smaller version of it last week. You stayed in something, a job, a relationship, an opinion stated too loudly to take back, that some quiet part of you already knew was wrong. And instead of leaving, you found reasons. It's not that bad. They're trying to change. I've put too many years in to stop now. That wasn't thinking. That was the comfort lie, arriving right on schedule to protect you from the agony of having been wrong. Notice the pattern. The more you have already sacrificed for something, the less able you become to see it clearly. From the inside, loyalty and self-deception feel exactly the same. They use the same voice. They tell you that you're being strong when you're only being afraid. The seekers needed a spaceship to justify their faith. You only need a sentence. A small, smooth story that arrives the instant reality threatens you and makes the discomfort dissolve before you ever fully feel it. You won't catch it happening. That is the entire point. The lie that protects you is the one you are least equipped to see because the part of you that would notice is the same part being protected. So the next time a fact makes you angry, really angry, faster than thought, stop. That anger is not proof the fact is wrong. It is the sound of some part of you, deep below the words, terrified that it might be right. The seekers waited all night for a voice from the sky. Yours speaks to you every single day, and you call it the truth.